What is up, football fans, and welcome back to NFL Nexus. Today, we are diving deep into a team that is, without a doubt, standing at a massive crossroads, the Las Vegas Raiders. Look, the decisions they're about to make this offseason, they aren't just going to shape the next season. We're talking about moves that could define the entire identity of this franchise for the next 5, maybe even 10 years. Every single move is connected, and you can bet the pressure is on. So let's break down the huge, pivotal choices facing the silver and black. And hey, if you're into deep dives like this one, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button and ring the bell. That way, you'll never miss one of our explainers.
You know, when you really boil it all down, the entire future of the Raiders hinges on how they answer 3 massive, interconnected questions. Seriously, think of it like a set of dominoes lined up in the front office. Once that first one gets tipped, the rest are all going to follow, for better or, well, for worse. These aren't just simple questions about filling a few holes on the roster. Oh no, this is about choosing a fundamental path forward. Are they all in on building for today, or is the focus on tomorrow? And maybe the biggest question of all, is it even possible to do both at the same time? In this explainer, we're going to tackle each one of these massive decisions and show you exactly how they all tie together.
All right, first up, and you knew this was coming. In the NFL, it feels like everything starts and ends with the single most important position on the field, right? The quarterback. And the situation in Las Vegas, let's just say it's complicated. And it all stems from one big, very expensive experiment that, frankly, just didn't go according to plan.
So let's set the scene, right? The trade for Geno Smith, on paper, was supposed to bring some much-needed veteran stability to the Raiders' offense. I mean, the guy was coming off this incredible career revival in Seattle, and the whole idea was that he'd be the steady hand to guide the ship. Instead, it was a disaster. It created way more questions than answers and led to a season that was just painful to watch. So painful, in fact, that the team is now holding the #1 overall pick in the draft. And let me tell you, you don't get the first pick by accident. You earn that through a frustrating, brutal year. So the challenge now is, how do you pivot from the failed experiment of the past to the promise of the future without having to completely blow up the present? It's a tough spot to be in.
And look, to say last season was a disappointment, that would be the understatement of the year. The source material we're looking at calls the Geno Smith experiment a huge problem for the Raiders' offense. It describes his play as a struggle and, at times, just playing ugly. Remember that magic he had found in Seattle? That incredible comeback story? Yeah, well, it did not make the trip to Las Vegas. He turned into a turnover machine, his decision-making under pressure got really erratic, and the consistency just wasn't there. We're talking wildly inconsistent from one quarter to the next, let alone from game to game. And this wasn't some quiet failure either. Oh no, Raider Nation was loud about it, actively and vocally calling for him to be benched. The relationship between the fan base and their veteran quarterback completely fell apart, and that is a toxic situation for any team leader, especially one with a big fat price tag.
Okay, so you'd think it's an open and shut case, right? The experiment failed, the fans are done, just cut Geno and move on. Well, not so fast. Here's where this whole story gets absolutely fascinating. Just when you think the book is closed, a report from ESPN's Dan Graziano comes out and throws a huge wrench in the works. See, he talked to coaches from other teams around the league, and their perspective is the complete opposite of what we saw on the field. They looked at the exact same game tape that had Raiders fans pulling their hair out, and they saw a player who was being, quote, held back by the Raiders' offensive system. Whoa, that is a massive revelation. Now, what does that even mean? Was the play calling too predictable? Was the offensive line just a turnstile? Were the receivers not getting open? Whatever it was, it strongly suggests that if the Raiders do cut him, he's not just going to fade away. He's going to have a market. Other teams think there's still gas left in the tank. And that, my friends, gives the Raiders some unexpected leverage or, at the very least, a much more complicated decision than just showing him the door.
And this slide right here perfectly lays out the massive dilemma facing the front office. So, picture this. You're the GM. In one corner, you've got Geno Smith. He's a veteran, he's a known commodity, you know his strengths, and maybe more importantly, you know his weaknesses. But he comes with that high salary, and the performance just hasn't been there to justify the cost. Then, in the other corner, you've got Indiana's Fernando Mendoza, the consensus #1 pick. He is hope, he is the future, and critically, he comes on that affordable rookie contract, which is a huge competitive advantage in a salary cap league. That money you save, that isn't just pocket change. That's a Pro Bowl caliber offensive lineman to protect him. That's a lockdown corner for your defense. But, and it's a big but, Mendoza is still a developmental prospect, and the Raiders have reportedly been telling people they'd rather not just throw a rookie to the Wolves in week 1. So what's the move? Do you keep Geno, swallow that salary and let him be the bridge until Mendoza is truly ready? Or do you cut ties now, save the cash, and find a cheaper veteran to hold down the fort? It's the classic, age-old battle of the present versus the future. Now, this whole win now versus build for later headache, it's not just an offensive problem. Oh no, that conflict is bleeding over to the defensive side of the ball, and it involves the one guy they absolutely, positively cannot afford to lose, the very heart and soul of their defense, their emotional cornerstone.
This right here, this is the question that sends a shiver down the spine of every single person in Raider Nation. And let's be crystal clear about something. Max Crosby isn't just their best player. He is the identity of the Las Vegas Raiders. He's the engine, the fire, the standard bearer. He's the walking, talking embodiment of what it means to wear that silver and black. This is a guy who practices harder than anyone, plays through injuries that would sideline normal humans for weeks, and he leaves every single ounce of himself out on that field. But a frustrating season combined with his intense, burning desire to win has led to some very real and very scary questions about his long-term future with the team.
So how did we even get here? Well, the situation is incredibly layered, and frankly, it's pretty messy. It reportedly started when Crosby was deeply unhappy that the team decided to shut him down late in the season with a knee injury, completely against his wishes. That frustration apparently boiled over, leading to some wild rumors that he told minority owner Tom Brady himself that he would never play for Las Vegas again. Yikes. However, more recent reports are now saying he does not plan to officially request a trade. So what's the truth? Well, the key to understanding all of this noise is his core motivation, which the sources state very plainly. He just wants to win. And you got to ask yourself, can you really blame the guy? Think about this. Since he was drafted in 2019, this elite, all-pro Defensive Player of the Year caliber monster has been a one-man wrecking crew. And in all that time, he has played in exactly one single playoff game. One. His personal standard of excellence just hasn't been matched by the team's success, and that gap is what's driving all this offseason drama.
So, what if a team gets bold? What if a GM actually picks up the phone and calls about a potential trade for Max Crosby? Well, this slide tells you everything you need to know about his value to this franchise. The reported asking price is astronomical. We're talking 2 first-round picks plus a key starting player. Now, to put that in perspective for you, that is the kind of king's ransom you normally only see for franchise quarterbacks, not defensive ends. This isn't a for sale sign. This is a giant, blinking, neon, don't even bother calling sign. As one GM quoted in the reports asked, "Why would you trade him? He's a premier player at a premier position." Another exec basically said that the price is way too high and that they don't think the Raiders actually want to move him. And they're right. The Raiders clearly believe Crosby is worth way more to them on the field, leading their defense and setting the entire culture of the locker room than any pile of draft picks they could possibly get in return. Okay, so we've got a major dilemma at quarterback. We've got an urgent need to keep the team's defensive superstar happy and committed. So where those 2 roads lead? Well, they both lead right back to one place, the offense. Because whether you're trying to develop a rookie QB or convince a veteran star you're serious about winning now, you absolutely have to have reliable, dynamic weapons to build around.
And this question is just so crucial, especially for the development of a young quarterback like Fernando Mendoza. A rookie's success in this league so often comes down to the supporting cast you put around him. I mean, imagine you're the number 1 pick. You have all the arm talent in the world, but if your guys can't get open and can't make plays for you, it's a brutal uphill battle. The worst thing you can do is just drop him onto an island and say good luck. Fortunately for the Raiders, it looks like they already have a certified blue-chip cornerstone piece already in place.
Man, I want you to really listen to this quote because it's fantastic. It comes from C.J. Allen, who's a top linebacker prospect himself, talking about his former Georgia teammate, the Raiders tight end Brock Bowers, and it just speaks volumes. He says, Bowers was the most astounding player he saw at Georgia, a program that is basically an NFL talent factory. And listen to these words. He's serious, he's real. Think about that. That's not a coach talking to the media. That's a peer, a guy who went to battle with him, talking about his professionalism, his drive. And then this part, I don't think he ever got tired. Ever. That right there is the perfect security blanket for a rookie quarterback. A reliable tight end with a motor that never stops is a young QB's absolute best friend. He's the guy who's going to be open on 3rd and 5, the guy who will bail you out when a play breaks down. He's the kind of player who sets the tone for an entire offense, and for a team trying to build a new identity, that is priceless.
So when you look at the moves they're making, you can see the strategy starting to come into focus. You can start connecting the dots, and a clear blueprint emerges. It's really a 3-part plan. Step 1, hire a new offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak. Now he comes from that Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, which is famous for installing a super quarterback-friendly system built on outside zone runs and a ton of play action.
And, critically, that system heavily features athletic tight ends who can create mismatches. Think George Kittle in San Francisco. Step 2, take your established star, Brock Bowers, and make him the featured weapon, the mismatch nightmare, within that very system. And Step 3, draft and develop the future of the franchise, quarterback Fernando Mendoza, who gets to grow up in a scheme designed to make his life easier, throwing to an elite, hardworking target. It's a clear, logical progression designed to build a sustainable and hopefully very potent offense for years to come.
So as we start to bring this all home, you can see that these three massive issues, the quarterback situation, the future of their defensive star, and building that new offensive core, they aren't separate conversations happening in different rooms. No, they are all woven together into one single franchise-defining choice that pits the present directly against the future.
What the Raiders front office is trying to pull off right now is an incredibly delicate balancing act. Honestly, it's like they're playing the most high-stakes game of Jenga in the entire league. You pull the wrong piece, and the whole thing could come crashing down. Think about it. How do you handle the Geno Smith situation in a way that best positions your rookie quarterback for long-term success? How do you manage the totally justified frustrations of your superstar, Max Crosby, while you're trying to rebuild? Every single decision has a domino effect. Keeping Geno might signal to Crosby that you want to win now, but it could also slow down Mendoza's development and eats up cap space you need elsewhere. Moving on from Geno frees up that money, but it puts a ton of pressure on a rookie from day one. It's all connected. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think is the most critical decision they have to make? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question, the one that hangs over this entire offseason. This isn't just about filling some spots on the roster. It's about navigating a complex quarterback transition. It's about managing the win-now demands of a generational talent like Max Crosby. And it's about forging a completely new offensive identity under Clint Kubiak. Successfully juggling all three of those challenges at the same time is the only path forward to building a consistent winner in Las Vegas. The big question is, can they actually pull it off? Thanks for watching this explainer here on NFL Nexus. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a like, and definitely subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest stories around the league. And hey, before you go, don't forget you can help support the channel by purchasing our coloring books. They're perfect for children, grandchildren, and yeah, adults too. You can find them through the link in the description or just by using the QR code on your screen. We'll see you in the next one.